Yo, I'm Damien.
What's what's your association with Fitzroy? What do you identify with or know about Fitzroy?
What do I know? What do I identify with Fitzroy? Well, see, I reckon I'm one of the. I'm like anybody. I moved into Fitzroy when I was about 18,
Yeah.
and I fell in love with it, and I just don't want to leave it and stuff. But there's actually nothing here that entices anyone to stay. There's always garbage on the road, it's always dirty, there's loads and loads of smog. This actually isn't bad, this is up on a hill, but down over in Collingwood, you head over there, and like, especially on a Sunday, I guess maybe that is the reason why I love Fitzroy. The winter in Fitzroy is heaven, you know, like, you know, you wake up and you go down to Wellington Street and you get that big sort of conjoining of all the smog from Punt Road, all the stuff from, you know, it all just comes and settles in Fitzroy. And, you know...
So the smog runs downhill, is it Collingwood?
And all the smell runs down Collingwood, it's run down to Collingwood for generations.
Yeah.
And, yeah, so that's I don't know why it is that I want to live in Fitzroy.
Yeah. Where do you live now?
Airport West.
Yeah. Why do you live in Airport West?
For no choice of my own, because rents got too high in Fitzroy and I couldn't afford to live in here anymore, and I had to take some time out. So I was on a bit of a reconnaissance. A bit of a reconnaissance mission, I think. A relaxation time, like a herbal spa out at Airport West, you know. You get that lead spa. Yeah, it's all there. No, well, Airport West is another place where I've got some connection to as well, you know. So it's always good to come in and wear an old skin, you know.
So what's the major difference between the other suburbs you lived in and Fitzroy, do you think?
Well, when I first moved to Carlton, when I first moved to Fitzroy, when I first moved to the city, the first three houses, we all got to know our neighbours, you know, and it was like, and you'd come home, and if no one was home, you'd go over to the neighbour's house and you'd hang out with the neighbours, and they'd come inside and stuff, you know, and there was like it was far more communal, far more sort of fun, free-loving kind of. But then it was also because there was no adults anywhere in Fitzroy. No one lives with their parents, you know. Yeah. So it's it's sort of like every single place is a little pub, you know. And as you sort of find out the better and better pubs to go to, that's when you realise that you've been living in Fitzroy too long. It's time to move out to Airport West.
Yeah.
But, no, I mean, I think that's a side of Melbourne, it's a side of Fitzroy that's really underrated because no one really wants to talk about it. But it's sort of like the pubs in Fitzroy, I don't think are I mean, they're sort of the social centres, but I think Melbourne's a far more house kind of place. Like if you go to Sydney, you don't sort of say, oh, we'll meet over at your place, we'll hang out there for a few hours and then we'll go out. You always meet at the pub and, you know, you'll hang out at the pub. And in Melbourne it's a lot more civilised. Yeah, that's what we like to say, because we know that we're better than Sydney. Thank you. But
so what do you see as the dangers in Fitzroy? If you think there's some good things happening here, what do you think are the big dangers that could threaten those?
Well, see, that's the thing. I would have looked at the world a few years ago and I would have thought, oh, look, we're just going down the toilet and stuff. But now I'm sort of trying to take a more positive take on it and stuff. And like what I was saying before about generations of people moving through here, generations as well as institutions have moved through here. I think I don't really think that Fitzroy is. Well, Fitzroy is like the big sort of epicenter of any phase that Melbourne's going through. Like, you know, it was the rave place. It's the place everyone talked about postmodernism. It's the place where people hang out, you know. But I think some of the dangers that Fitzroy is going through are probably some of the dangers that Australia's going through. You know, it's, where we're just losing our culture and we're saying, yeah, we want to be American, or we want to eat McDonald's and we want to eat, you know. But then this side of the city is quite unique as well in that it's the first place in Australia. The only place in Australia. I don't know about the rest of the world, but it's the only place where a McDonald's has shut down.
Really?
Yes.
Where was that?
In Lygon Street.
In Lygon Street.
Yeah.
And why do you think it closed down?
I don't know.
Community resistance?
No, there was no community resistance. Though it was there, but you know, it has sort of eroded. It's like the McDonald's up on St George's Road in that beautiful old building. Like nobody wanted it there, but then they wanted to knock down the building, and eventually they had to build the big building, and you know. But I don't think it was community resistance. I think it was, and I don't think it was lack of money, because I don't think McDonald's ever shut through lack of money, because once they've got it open, they keep it open. I just think it was maybe they just thought. Maybe they had a moral conscience, and they just thought it was too ugly for that side of town. Maybe they couldn't get Lamac pizzas, you know. I don't know.
So do you think there'll ever be a McDonald's in Fitzroy?
It was looking a bit dodgy on Brunswick Street for a little while. Yeah, the 7-Eleven made it in there.
Yeah.
And that, thank God, we need another 7-Eleven, because, you know, it was getting to the point where we had to walk like 3 blocks before we'd find one late at night, and that was hard. But no, I don't think it's. Unless they can have. Well, they tried Lamac cafes. It hasn't really taken off. So no, I don't really think. You know, as much as people in Fitzroy have eaten and will eat McDonald's, I think there isn't a lot of McDonald's rubbish floating around Fitzroy. There's a lot of rubbish floating around. Not much of it is McDonald's. But the KFC on Smith Street, they have a 15% unemployment card discount.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Progressive.
That's progressive, and it's also caring. You know, it sort of it shows a deep concern for the society in which they live.
So you said about the rents in Fitzroy, they're sort of too high. Do you think that's a threat to the?
Well, no.
Isn't the place interesting?
Yeah, well, see, that's the thing. I think the biggest threat to keeping Fitzroy interesting is keeping the world interesting. And I don't think the general I think the world's fascinating at the moment, but I think the general populace is becoming very boring. I think we're being born to the 50s again. Yeah. You know, which you know, so I sort of think it'll make it a lot wealthier suburb, really. But it's also that the reason that rents are going up is for a few reasons. But one of the reasons is that at the moment Fitzroy is becoming. I think in the 1890s it was quite big. There was a lot of people who owned the houses they lived in, but for 80 years it's been really rare, and now people have started to actually own the houses they're living in instead of renting them, and that's decreased the amount of rent available, and it's increasing the price, and you know, and there's only so much space in Fitzroy, so it's a shame, but you know, times change and places change. But I mean, I guess one of the good things about Fitzroy is that no matter how wealthy it becomes, it'll always retain itself.
Yeah.
And it's like Smith Street. Smith Street hasn't changed a brick in 100 years. And well, just over there there's commission flats. Over there there's commission flats. And people are going to have to realise that no matter how much they pay, they're still going to have to learn to coexist with people on a lower income. You know, which. I mean, I work in Toorak, and a few of the people there have started talking about how their daughters and their sons are moving to Northcote now because it's safe and stuff. And you know, if those people ever want to move in Fitzroy, then they're going to have to learn to communicate with a strata of society that they would have never felt the need to when they were growing up, which I think is a positive thing.
Yeah.
You know, so.
So there's a certain language of diversity or something you see in Fitzroy?
Yeah, and I've always actually liked that. I grew up in Broadmeadows, and Broadmeadows has the highest amount of the highest migrant population in Victoria, and I think then it goes Springvale, and Fitzroy is about 5th on the list, I think, or 6th, and yeah, I mean it is really refreshing to sort of to wake up and think that you're part of a society. It's sort of like when you live in Fitzroy, you don't go out to the suburbs much, so it doesn't really occur to you what the rest of Australia is actually doing or thinking or is. So you can wake up in Fitzroy and think that we're all going to manage to pull it together, you know, and we'll all be okay. It's you know, I've never felt threatened, and I've never faced any kind of threat or physical violence, or just it's just been a matter of coexisting in around here, I guess. So
yeah. So what do you think that other people who come to Fitzroy learn from it? You know, like from the suburbs, they come here to party or something like that. What do you think their view of Fitzroy is?
Well, I guess mine changed as well. So I mean, if I was 18 and I moved in here again, I'd be an 18-year-old of this generation. But I remember when I was 18, yeah, I mean, all I wanted to do was drink and, you know, get out of it and have fun and, you know, and hang out with people of a similar age group to me, and not have to worry about parents, you know, looking over my shoulder.
Yeah.
And so I guess, you know, with the high rent, it sort of closed me out a little bit, but it's also forced me to accept the inevitable that I wasn't going to be able to live in Fitzroy forever. You know, that eventually I'd have to pass the baton on to the generation after me, and as the generation before me had done, except the generation before me went along and bought houses. So, yeah.
And so why do you see as the sort of property owning people, or the yuppies, or whatever you call them, why do you think that they want to move to Fitzroy and live?
Yeah, they're weirdos. Yeah. And there's some just down the road, just down there, near the commission flats, and there's sort of there's little sort of you know, neo kind of warehouse flash kind of, you know, everything in there and stuff. And I've passed them walking in and out, and they just look really frightened, and it's like, and they look like they don't really belong. And I guess that was kind of frightening as well, because I figured that probably they do belong, that they probably belong more than I do now, you know. And Brunswick Street, you go down there and you see loads of those people, they've all got flash haircuts, you know, and $300 coats on, you know, and they've all got mobile phones in each pocket, you know. So, yeah, I mean, I guess the fabric will just get another week to it, really.
Yeah.
So, but it is a shame, and but then I just think I can't really look at today's society badly, and I can't sort of say, oh, you know, everything they're doing is wrong. But I do think that they've lost a big core of community identity, and it's a far more selfish society than it was when I was growing up. So
you think there's some broader things in Fitzroy that maybe relate to a broader Australian society, or a broader Melbourne even?
Do I think there is anything broader here?
Yeah, or anything that Fitzroy can be used as a metaphor even to understand the broader Australian society?
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess I guess
trends here that you see could, you know, relate to other parts of the country.
It's a trendy place. Although Airport West is I'm bringing out my own clothesline soon. Shea Airport West. It'll be big, but no. Well, I mean, I guess it's like there was that sociological study in England where they had that town that was like the perfect town, and they'd done that film in America about the perfect town. And I guess in a lot of ways, Fitzroy it's like a small ectoplasm of Melbourne, of the perfect town, except that there's no parents living here, so I don't know what I'm saying. But yeah, I mean there's a broad cross-section of society. It's like in St Kilda now, you go down Fitzroy Street and it's not like it was. It's not even similar to what it was 20 years ago. Yeah. But if you walk down George Street, it'll still be George Street in 20 years' time, and nothing will change it. So, I mean, I guess yeah, I guess the lesson that Fitzroy will always be there to remind us of is that, you know, maybe the rich get richer and the poor get poorer, and they'll live over the street from each other and hate each other. So maybe it'll be the fervent place where revolution seeds get sown. I don't know. Yeah. I don't think Melburnians are very revolutionary types though. So it'll probably just get a few paint bombs, maybe.
Yeah.
You know.
So where do you see? How do you see the use of space in Fitzroy? Like, you say that people have to tolerate each other and stuff like that. I mean, where do they meet and where do they tolerate each other? Do you see?
Well, the social aspect of Fitzroy is, yeah, for me, I guess it used to be pubs.
Yeah.
But as I've grown older, it's become cafes. That's where I'll meet people. So I'll meet you at a cafe and we'll hang out and drink coffee and eat cake and stuff. But I don't know whether that's me, and I just don't like going to pubs so much anymore. And whether young kids still, you know, I don't know what they're doing, those young kids today. But yeah. I mean, I think the social. And it's also that pubs aren't the only place you can buy beer anymore. You can buy it at hairdressers now. What is that?
I don't know.
It's beyond me. But I mean, I guess the social habits of Fitzroy and the social habits of me have changed. Yeah. I've become far more sedate. Yeah. Lounge music.
Yeah. So like the poorer residents of Fitzroy, like live in the commission flats behind you. Do you think they hang out in the cafes?
Well, I'd say, you know, the Gertrude Street would still pull a few people in.
Yeah.
You know, I was living in the commission flats in Carlton, and I still went to cafes and stuff. But it's, you know, they've also got huge big parks there, you know, and you know, no, I mean, I still think there's still the I mean, I guess it's not a cafe, but you know, there's still the seats on the corner of Smith Street and the street down that way, and Brunswick Street down there. They've got where they took out the chairs. They used to have those chairs on Brunswick Street, but the council took them out, and Janosch died the next week. Janosch is another weird one, I reckon. Like, Janosch was this guy. Janosch, he was like this old. Well, there's legends upon legends upon legends about Janosch. There was all these legends that he was a big property owner, and his wife used to drive a BMW and drop off, you know, $200 a week for him and stuff, and he'd just go live on the streets and stuff, and he just took it all in with his life, and he just gave it all up, and something about his daughter, you know, disowning him or something, and and so he went off and he lived on the streets and stuff, and was a generally disgusting bum. And I never met a person who liked him, who'd stop and, you know, chat with Janosch, and, you know, and get to know him better. But as soon as he died, you heard reams of stories, people just saying, "Oh, Janosch, I remember him. He was the golden boy of Brunswick Street." But, you know, 98% of people were happy that he was gone. You know, like, I heard stories about him just standing there outside Greek churches on Sunday, just pissing on them and stuff. You know, and just doing disgusting things. He became quite penile fixated in his old age. You know,